Story 1. If the other person doesn't exhibit some level of curiosity about you, it may indicate a lack of interest. When there's chemistry between two people, you naturally want to know more about the other person because you find them interesting. However, if you find yourself carrying the conversation and attempting to learn about the other person, but they show no interest in learning about you, then it's a sure sign that there's no compatibility. Don't take it personally. No one can be everyone's cup of tea, and it's better to know that from the beginning. Story 2. Possessiveness. To some degree, your partner being possessive is cute because it makes you feel desired, but what many people fail to realize is sometimes it gets too toxic to the level of doubt, and that's never good because trust is important in a relationship. Story 3. Financial incompatibility. If you are not on the same page regarding money, this leads to a lot of problems should the relationship become serious. Story 4. When people ignore the fact the other person doesn't put in effort, it always baffles me how many people jump through hoops while getting nothing in return. Story 5. Love is blind. So blind that people are often willing to overlook small differences in values and needs because it might not matter much at the beginning of a relationship. They see it as a necessary compromise and believe that love will conquer all. However, those little differences often become huge problems later in the relationship, most often when children become part of the equation. Story 6. Constantly asking your partner if they find random people in public or on television attractive. In my experience, when they're asking this, there is no right answer. Every once in a while is one thing, but if you find yourself walking around looking at your feet all the time, there might be an issue. Story 7. If they even hint at a third party that is interested in them, don't get caught up in those love triangle shenanigans. Story 8. Constantly complaining about the people around them, their family, friends, exes, customer service workers, and so on. You will be on that list too. This person is a perpetually self-identified victim and is completely going to use it for manipulation and abuse. Just to clarify, some people will complain for real reasons, and even though being negative all the time is unpleasant, I am saying watch out for the extreme cases. It is all they focus on, it is almost everyone they come in contact with, and they just do not understand why or how they deserve it. Story 9. When she says she likes to have a beer after work, but it is actually 11 beers. When I've been sober for 4 years, it is just awkward. Story 10. He hadn't actually told his ex they were broken up, just that they needed to take a break. I should have taken a break too at that point. Story 11. My ex just left one day out of the blue. I came home, and her stuff was gone. Ladies, if you hear this, run. Abusers know they cannot say, "My ex was crazy," nowadays. This is the new version of it. The woman likely had to flee for safety. Her family members likely had to protect her after fleeing. There's a reason he couldn't find her after she left. Story 12. They unsettle you. There is a nagging instinct urging you to keep your distance, even though they appear fine on the surface. An internal conflict arises. Do not dismiss this feeling as a flaw in your character or a result of past traumas. If your intuition is screaming at you to flee, heed its warning no matter how alright the other person may seem. Ignoring it will only amplify the persistent unease, making it increasingly challenging to leave the person. Story 13. A red flag that people often overlook when dating is inconsistency in communication or behavior. For example, if someone is extremely attentive and communicative one day but then disappears or becomes distant the next without explanation, it could indicate underlying issues or mixed intentions. Story 14. When they only talk about themselves and ask you no questions, or aren't remotely curious about you, it can be quite frustrating. When you feel like you've been cast in a role or are just an audience member when you interact, it's not a pleasant experience. I can forgive a bit of verbal diarrhea because I do that myself when nervous or excited. However, I had a guy interrupt me several times to fill in the blanks with assumptions he had made instead of letting me speak for myself. He had zero self-awareness about how insulting it was and was shocked I didn't want to see him again. Story 15. Weird, controlling behavior coupled with a savior complex. Men who become involved with a woman and say, "She had no idea about something until I showed her how to do it properly. She is so cute." Story 16. Love bombing involves doing big romantic gestures very early, really going on and on about how wonderful and amazing you are when you've just met. This is often what people who are abusive do to get you hooked. Story 17, 1. Lack of interest in your inner world and often just interested in your looks. 2. Has not done any personal work. Their issues seem to always be someone else's fault. 3. Are not sure what they want, they just want to go with the flow. 4. Much older men, seemingly charming, they are not. They prey on younger women. Run. Story 18. Little white lies should be one of the higher ones on this list. You see them lie to other people or family without a second thought, even about stupid stuff. Trust me, it only gets bigger and worse as time goes on. Story 19. When they can't attribute their own fault or shortcoming to a single problem they face in life. Today, it's their parents or boss. Tomorrow, it will be you. Story 20. Insults masked as joking. Oh, that's just his sense of humor. No, he's just disguising his honesty with jokes. Story 21. Person already in a relationship. It's quite amusing to think that someone who cheats on their partner would suddenly become a trustworthy person. Story 22. The family dynamic. You may say you are marrying the person, not the family, but it's a package deal. Their mess becomes your mess. Story 23. Someone who is constantly changing jobs, I don't mean they work for 6 months for one place, get a better position at another company for a year and a half, then go to a different company. That's normal career growth. If someone is quitting jobs every few months, even if they immediately get a new job, they are not stable. Story 24. Gaslighting. It's crazy how long I let it go before I even realized. And even still, it took years of reflection to fully recognize how bad it was. Story 25. When all your friends dislike your significant other and you cannot see it. Usually because they are overly critical of you, but your friends are generally not wrong. Story 26. Moving too fast? No, it's not normal to feel like you've met your soulmate in 3 weeks. They're not in love with you. They're in limerence, which isn't long-lasting. Also, the odds are good that this person, who is rushing headlong into a relationship, has a few screws loose. Story 27. My ex and I were long distance at first, 3 hours apart. There was a day he was going to visit, and there was a storm. I told him he didn't have to come if he felt the driving conditions were unsafe. He got really angry with me. He said if I didn't want to hang out with him, he could have made other plans. He got really aggressive, texting repeatedly. Should I make other plans then? He told me he loved me pretty quickly. I wasn't ready to say it back. He was so mean about it, wouldn't talk to me until I said it back. I think people not being able to have a conversation about things without taking offense is a problem. I thought I was being mean or bad by saying those things, but in retrospect, he was just ready to fight all the time. Story 28. If they compliment you on appearance and generic qualities, and don't praise you for your passions and qualities that make you truly unique. Story 29. I was recently dating a woman who would not let me finish a single sentence without interrupting constantly. I ignored this for a while, but towards the end, it grated on me so much that was enough for me. Story 30. Unable to emotionally regulate, especially if they have sudden outbursts of anger. Even if they are small microaggressions, it's not okay. Even worse if they gaslight you about it. Story 31. If his friends are racist, sexist, homophobic, and so on, but he claims he's not like them, he is exactly like them. He just learned to hide it better. Story 32. The biggest red flag is a trusted human telling you of a red flag, and you ignore it, argue otherwise, or defend the behavior. It's not jealousy. Most people don't care enough to tell you. The truly jealous will sit back and watch you burn. Story 33. If she or he shares a lot, maybe daily, photos on their profiles, that means they are begging for attention, and that kind of people never get enough with one person in a relationship. Story 34. Talking about their ex constantly, not wanting to ever go out. My ex never wanted to go out, and a girl I was friends with benefits with talked about her ex constantly. I realized too late that she wasn't over him while I caught feelings. Story 35. How their friends and family are. If your partner seems great but all their friends are undesirable, they are almost certainly being dishonest about who they are. They are content with that group of friends but pretend to be a nicer person to you, to get you to a point in the relationship where you'll start tolerating their unacceptable personality. So, if your partner is not racist but all their friends are, and they never call them out, your partner is racist. They are just pretending not to be around you. It's very easy for someone to excessively flatter you and pretend they are a different person, but most of their friends do not care about you. So, if all their friends exhibit worrying behavior, especially when they don't realize you're listening or around, it's a huge warning sign. Story 36. How much effort someone exhibits in making you a priority is not just about making plans and meeting up. Although if that is one-sided, it definitely will not last. You can narrow it down to the most simple terms, though. If they are willing to make time to talk on the phone or text consistently, that is still effort and still them trying to include you in their life in some capacity. When you are an adult, there is always an excuse and never enough hours in the day to do everything. If someone wants you around, they will make the time and put in the effort. Story 37. Not sharing the emotional burden equally. For example, if they constantly need to vent and require your time and comfort, but will not do the same for you or try avoiding it entirely. Story 38. 1. Love bombing, too much attention and big promises way too fast. It is not normal for a healthy relationship to move this fast. 2. Inconsistent communication. Their interest level is too low or not there at all. When someone is interested in you, you will not have to guess because they will communicate with you and make time for you without you having to ask. 3. Starts hot and heavy from the beginning. If it starts extremely hot and heavy right off the bat, it is likely to fizzle out because there might be nothing there beyond a strong physical attraction and them wanting to just sleep with you. 4. Big differences in opinions on big life topics. Kids, marriage, where to live, religion, politics, lifestyle, etc. These can easily make a relationship stronger or completely break it. 5. The job the person has. Are you fine with shouldering more of the financial burden if they make less? Or do you want more of an equal financial partnership? This will depend on what kind of lifestyle you want and how much that lifestyle financially costs. Story 39. Excessive drinking or any substance abuse. Quick-tempered, inability to take accountability, apologize, or be empathetic, and narcissistic behavior traits. Story 40. When all of their interests lack depth, elements that challenge them mentally, and they are not curious about anything. Story 41. When you match with someone and they do not initiate a conversation or barely talk, they do not ask questions and try to get to know me. All they care about is sex, or their first initial response is about sex. Story 42. If they find the other person physically attractive and are high on pheromones, they tend to overlook a complete and total lack of compatibility otherwise. Just an observation. Of course, children might not be born if this wasn't the case. Story 43. Disagreement about wanting children and how many. Mismatched basic core values reflected in things like religious beliefs and political orientation. Toilet paper facing in or out. Story 44. People who say they are entrepreneurs, freelancers, promoting, or influencing when you ask what they do for work. Story 45. Manipulative behavior. Some people are more subtle about it than others and can ease into telling you what you like or want rather than asking you. This is toxic. Story 46. One common red flag is when your partner tries to control or manipulate you, such as telling you who you can talk to or what you can wear. People sometimes ignore these signs because they are hopeful the relationship will improve, but it is important to listen to your instincts and set boundaries for a healthy relationship. Story 47. If they take hours to respond to you, don't respect your time by being chronically late, and I don't mean by a few minutes, I mean 30 minutes or more. Mismatched relationship goals. If they're disrespectful to others, they will eventually be disrespectful to you. There are a lot of obvious red flags that we ignore when dating for various reasons. It's a bad idea to pretend they're not there. People really do show you who they are, so it's about time we started to believe them. Story 48. There is always an excuse for everything. Their actions are always the result of something, not their intention or decision to do so. Story 49. Most things the other person does. Everything and anything can be a red flag. It's whether you find them to be red flags and whether you are okay with them. Story 50. White lies in the beginning equal huge lies later on. Little lies are such a telltale sign and a huge red flag. Story 51. not apologizing for small transgressions in the beginning. They will say, "That wasn't my intention at best," but they will not apologize. For example, if they repeatedly make you wait in their building lobby, even when they knew exactly when you were arriving, and when they have been repeatedly informed it is uncomfortable for you. It is not worth making a big argument out of maybe they are just scatterbrained, so you let it slide, right? My advice is to notice this and keep score. If they cannot even muster up an easy apology for minor things that hurt your feelings, they will not be sorry for big things. And by then, you are attached and they know it.